Hello, and welcome to this week's podcast. In this episode, we will chat about sleep. Most people know firsthand that sleep affects their mental state. There's a reason for saying that someone in a bad mood woke up on the wrong side of the bed. As it turns out, there's quite a bit of truth to this. Sleep is closely connected to our mental and emotional health, and has been linked to depression, anxiety, and many other conditions. Research points to a bilateral relationship, which means that mental health disorders make it harder to sleep well, and at the same time, poor sleep, including insomnia, can contribute to causing and worsening your mental health problems. Both sleep and mental health are complex issues affected by many different factors, but there is a strong reason to believe that improving your sleep can benefit your mental health, and it could be a significant component of treating both depression and anxiety. So how is mental health related to sleep? Well, your brain activity fluctuates during sleep, increasing and decreasing during different sleep stages that make up your sleep cycle. The two main stages of your sleep cycle are NREM sleep, or non-rapid eye movement, and REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement. In NREM sleep, overall brain activity slows, but there is a quick burst of energy. In REM sleep, your brain activity picks up, which is why this stage is associated with more intense dreaming. If you know someone or have a pet who sleeps with their eyes open, you may have seen this firsthand. I remember first seeing someone asleep with their eyes open and it was moving around and it was terrifying, but this is completely normal. Each one of these stages plays a role in the brain's health. Allowing activity in these different parts of your brain to ramp up and down enables better thinking, learning, and memory. Sufficient sleep, especially REM sleep, facilitates the brain's processing of emotional information. During this deep REM sleep, the brain works to evaluate and remember thoughts and memories. As a result, the traditional view, which held that sleep problems were a symptom of mental health disorders, is being called into question. Instead, it is becoming clear that there is a bi-directional relationship between sleep and mental health. Sleeping problems may both be a cause and a consequence of mental health problems. Obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, is another aspect of sleep linked to mental health. OSA is a disorder that involves pauses in breathing during sleep and a reduction in the body's oxygen levels, creating fragmented and often disturbed sleep. OSA occurs more frequently in people with psychiatric conditions and may detract from their physical health and heighten their risk of severe mental distress. The way that sleep and mental health are intertwined becomes even more apparent when reviewing what we know about how sleep is tied to specific mental health conditions. Over 300 million people worldwide have depression, and 75% of these people show symptoms including insomnia, excessive daytime sleepiness, and hypersomnia, which is sleeping too much. Research is currently pointing towards sleep management being one of the most beneficial treatments for depression. One study found that after resolving their insomnia, 87% of people experienced significant reduction in their depressive symptoms. Seasonal affective disorder is a subtype of depression that most often affects people during times of year with reduced daylight hours. For example, people in northern climates like the UK may experience seasonal affective disorder during the autumn and winter months. This condition is closely tied to disrupting a person's internal biological clock or circadian rhythm, which helps to control multiple bodily processes, including sleep. Not surprisingly then, people with seasonal affective disorder tend to sleep too much or too little. It is also more common in people who have moved to the UK from a hotter climate. Sleep is also closely linked to anxiety disorders. Every year, anxiety disorders in the UK affect an estimated 20% of adults and 25% of teenagers. Anxiety disorders have a strong association with sleeping problems. Worry and fear contribute to hyperarousal, a significant contributor to insomnia. Sleep problems may become an added concern, creating anticipatory anxiety at bedtime and making it harder to fall asleep. Research has also found a solid connection between PTSD and sleep. People with PTSD frequently replay negative events in their mind, suffer from nightmares, and experience a state of being on alert, all of which can interfere with your sleep. Individuals with chronic insomnia often develop anxiety disorders, suggesting that sleeping problems often activate anxiety in people at higher risk. If you are struggling with your sleep, there are a couple important things to think about, like, can you make up for lost sleep? There are two ways of thinking about this topic. The first scenario is that you've gone to bed late. It's 3 a.m. instead of your regular 10:30 bedtime. Would your body make up for the lost sleep? The answer to that is that it's a mix. You're more likely to miss out on that NREM sleep and jump straight into the REM sleep, which is the deeper sleep stages and more psychologically beneficial for you. However, missing out on that NREM sleep results in you missing out on the physical benefits of sleep, meaning that you may experience abnormalities like a high blood pressure, increased heart rate, and reduction in your insulin regulation. So, occasionally having a late night out or an early morning isn't the end of the world, but missing out on that sleep for prolonged periods of time can have serious consequences, so avoiding this accumulation of sleep debt is essential. The second scenario is that you have insomnia, meaning that you miss sleep for these prolonged periods of time. In this case, the symptoms you would be experiencing could be much more severe. Another important thing to know is some of the ways that you can help manage your sleep. Like, don't do Uberman sleep schedules. The Uberman schedule is a widely promoted alternative to the standard sleep pattern. It proposes that you should sleep in 90-minute cycles across the day and night, which would increase your productivity and reduce your overall sleeping time, almost like a baby's sleeping patterns. Many studies have found that these alternative sleep schedules were ineffective and actually detrimental to every performance metric, including your mental health. Managing your exposure to light and temperature could also significantly impact your ability to sleep. Some fancy cells in your eyes called melanopsin cells inform your brain about when to sleep and when to be awake. These cells regulate your sleep best when they're exposed to natural light early in the morning and when the temperature increases. Then later in the day, the cells inform your brain to go to sleep most effectively if the temperature drops and they receive less exposure to light. Another critical point here is the exposure to natural light. In the UK, it is pretty cloudy and miserable outside most of the time. The perception is that the light coming through the clouds isn't any more beneficial than artificial light. But in reality, natural light is far more potent than any artificial light. A cool experiment you could do at home is to download a light meter app on your phone and hold it up to a cloudy sky. You might get a couple thousand lux being a measurement of light. And then hold up the same light meter to an artificial light, and you might have around 500 lux. It is important to consider that light is the primary way that your body regulates hormones that control your sleep. Light triggers the release of cortisol, which wakes you up, and when light isn't there, more melatonin is produced, which then makes you sleepy. It is advised that you get at least 30 to 40 minutes of natural sunlight per day. This could be by sitting in front of a window at work or opening your curtains first thing in the morning. Generally though, the more natural light you can get before the evening rolls around, the better. Another point on the topic of light is that blue light, or the light emitted from your phone or computer, has an even more significant impact on preventing you from getting to sleep. If you look at screens late at night, maybe thinking about downloading an app that blocks this blue light. An example of this would be Flux. Another excellent method to improve your sleep is to exercise. Currently, there is a lot of conflicting ideas about when is best exercise or what is the most beneficial type of exercise to help you get to sleep. The widely accepted guidance, however, is that a weekly total of 150 minutes of moderate to intense exercise per week is best for your sleep patterns. You can do this exercise whenever is best for you. The most important thing is that if you can do it, then go for it. Caffeine is another massive way that you can help to manage your sleep. It is a psychoactive drug that affects 3 main systems in your body: dopamine, adenosine, and cortisol levels. and it's found in your teas, coffees, energy drinks, and in many other things. Adenosine builds up in your brain the longer you're awake. The more adenosine you have, the more tired you feel. What caffeine does is it prevents this adenosine from being processed in your brain by blocking its receptors. So the adenosine's there, but it's not doing anything. Therefore, it's keeping you awake. The tricky bit is when this caffeine goes away, all the adenosine that's built up gets processed very quickly and you crash, you feel super tired. Caffeine lasts in your system on average for 5 to 6 hours. So not having caffeine after 3 p.m. is a great way to stop it affecting your sleep. Alcohol has the opposite effect. It acts as a sedative or a depressant. Alcohol is also commonly used as a sleep aid, even though it couldn't be anything further than an aid. I understand that sometimes people take it as a nightcap to help them fall asleep or to help them switch off. But because it's a sedative, it just makes you feel less conscious quicker, rather than actually helping you sleep. It also fragments your sleep, so the quality of that sleep is worse. Going to bed hungry or bloated can also negatively affect your sleep. The sensation of being hungry is linked to an increase in your alertness. This is your mind's way of ensuring that you can be vigilant for any potential food sources. Going to bed in this alert state could reduce your sleep quality. On the other side, going to bed bloated can be very uncomfortable, making it difficult to drift off. Sleeping on the left side of your body is a good tip to help deal with this sensation of being bloated. It lets gravity speed up that digestive system. Sleep hygiene is the final method of improving your sleep that I will list. Sleep hygiene is just the process of training your brain and body to know when to sleep. So, just like a muscle that strengthens with practice, sleeping is a skill that we can develop. The most important aspect of this training is routine. Our mind associates sights, smells, and activities with the responses. Our goal is to design a routine that gives us the best chance of getting the response that we want, lots of good quality sleep. So start by creating a wind-down routine. This could be dimming the lights, cooling the temperature, and decreasing your exposure to stimulation like a TV or your phone. A routine for half an hour before bed is also great. This could be something like taking a shower, brushing your teeth, or putting on clean pajamas. To make these routines even more effective, you could optimize your bedroom. A comfortable mattress, pillow, fresh sheets, and a cool room. 18 degrees Celsius is the magic number for this. Maybe even introduce a calming scent like lavender. If you are still thinking, Alex, I've tried all these things and they didn't work for me, my response to you is, firstly, sorry for making you listen to all that, and secondly, seek professional help. In the UK, we have sleep clinics that you could visit and that recommend bespoke interventions for you. The Sleep Clinic and the Sleep Apnea Trust are great examples of these clinics. We also offer CBT for insomnia that's available under the NHS. You could also access a website called Sleep Station for free via your GP, which may be easier to access than a sleep clinic. And finally, there are prescription medications. I would just like to thank you for your attention and for taking the time to listen to this week's podcast. I genuinely hope that you can take something away from it, and see you again next week.